So hello, Žymantas. So you
Hi.
just started the first result-based payment scheme in Lithuania. What was the reason? Why did you develop this scheme?
I think that the major reason is the flexibility which result-based schemes allows for the farmers. And I myself, I'm not only a farmer myself, but I'm also a nature conservationist and working with agri-environmental measures already for quite a few years. And I observe that ordinary so-called process-based agri-environmental schemes, they often have certain restrictions, which quite often are illogical. Like for instance, we have a typical restriction of a later mowing starting from 15th of July for the preservation of birds species, so to allow them breeding, successful breeding season. But it is definitely not in all cases of the meadows such late mowing is needed for the sake of birds, and especially if we are protecting grassland habitats and we're looking for the conservation of the vegetation and plant species. Such late mowing can even be harmful, but the ordinary process-based agri-environmental measures, they don't distinguish these kind of things. And when it is very difficult with the general restrictions and requirements with ordinary agri-environmental measures to fit into what exactly needs to be protected in the site, and at the same time give a certain flexibility to the farmers also to do their business, to do their farming activities and have a product like fodder or something else.
Thanks. And what do you personally like about this result-based scheme in Lithuania? What do you think will it change?
I think maybe I should say very basically what this result-based scheme is about in Lithuania, and it's called support or conservation of rich flowering meadows in Lithuania, and it is focused on it has a general biodiversity conservation targets, which is measured by the abundance and occurrence of certain plants, which illustrates or represents the naturalness of the grassland. So the farmers are obliged to do, who declare, they are obliged to do the annual monitoring of the sites, and they have a monitoring plots, and in the monitoring plots they have to look for these particular plant species, which adds the scoring, and based on the scoring, then if they get enough scoring, then they get a payment. So generally this kind of a measure is supporting diversity, vegetation diversity in the grasslands, which is of course an important basis for the other biodiversity like invertebrates, insects, richness of the insects, which is also when they are food bases for birds. So it's of course then helps conservation of the farmland birds and so on. So it's a whole kind of ecosystem. And what I personally like about this result-based approach in the Lithuanian case is that the measure requires farmers to do the monitoring of the area, and they have to look for these plants and observe them and then record. And this particular how to say thing involves farmers much deeper in the grassland. So they are not just looking at as a place to harvest the fodder, but they are also looking and recognizing the different plant species. And this makes farmers much more engaged and learning this kind of ecological, learning the ecology of the grassland, allowing them really much deeper to learn about the processes happening in the grassland. When we announced that measure and we invited farmers to participate in the pilot, we got a lot of really, it became very visible in media, and we've got we got really a lot of contacts from the farmers, so there was a very high interest expressed. What I observed was that we've got the interest of those farmers who are interested to learn the grasslands more. And then we are getting the interest from the farmers who don't see the grasslands only as a source of fodder, but they see the whole life happening in the grassland. And so what I really like is that this measure is somehow extracting those farmers which can be super good advocates for agro-environment and biodiversity conservation in the farmland. I think Europe lacks that, and looking into the general dynamics of the agriculture, biodiversity of our agro ecosystems, which is declining in the whole Europe, we really need such motivated advocates, farmers who are learning their areas deeper, and they're also stimulating other farmers to get on board on the agro-environmental schemes.
Thanks. So in Lithuania, you're just going through this process of developing result-based approach where there was nothing like this before. So what was important in the beginning of the scheme? But just to start, what was the most important thing?
I have to say that the initial idea to launch the results-based scheme in Lithuania has started around 2008, I think. But then it was not supported by the Ministry of Agriculture. Yeah, we were receiving comments that, yeah, you are kind of crazy guys, and you want this kind of a crazy measure. And they didn't really understood it. So now when we started, I think for us was very important to collect the experience from the other EU member states, not only EU member states, but generally of other countries, to see what is the experiences, what is the best practices, what is the know-how, and which helped us to feel much more confident to what we built. And of course, we based our result-based scheme already on the experiences of UK and of Germany mostly. And we also looked, of course, in your experience in Austria, and so we somehow combined the elements from different countries into one, so kind of combining the best practices and made the pilot for Lithuania.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in our result-based payment network, we have still a few countries who don't have result-based payment schemes. Yeah, can you give just one good advice to them who would like to start such a scheme?
I think that one point to highlight is that European Commission talking about the common agriculture policy is already highlighting the results-based approach as a good practice approach, or kind of one of the best practices. And the European Commission itself is stimulating to mainstream the result-based schemes in Europe. So one message for the competent authorities, ministries of agriculture, that this lays a very good political background to launch such an approach in your country. The second advice is, I think currently we have this network of the result-based schemes managed by you, and this website which illustrates so many different examples and approaches. And the team of experts were really supportive and they're really engaged to stimulate this approach. So you have a really good source of help here. So you can start reading the website, looking at the different practices, but you also, I believe, are very much welcome to contact and ask for help and get advices. And I believe the team is really very friendly and supportive to give you those advices.
Thank you very much, Žymantas, for this highly interesting talk, and yeah, very good luck to you to Lithuania. Bye-bye.
Yes, thank you. Bye-bye.